Okay, I think I'm live. If you're watching, this is a live stream of Al's Geek Lab, the first time I've ever done this. So it's really important that you tell me what you think of this completely raw, unedited stuff. Um, and if you think it's rubbish, please leave a comment below rather than a thumbs down. If you just leave a comment, tell me it's rubbish, then I promise never to do it again, and I'll just stick to the usual form factor of stuff. But today I thought I would do something really, really quick, just because it's something that I was interested in, and I thought, I must put a YouTube video together for this, and then I thought, it's going to take a long time just to do it. So I thought I'll freestyle it, see how it goes, and the demo gods will probably not work, but that's just life. So what I wanted to do is show you this Windows 98 machine here, and a thing called Frogfind. So if you've surfed the web on an old computer, say it's Windows 98 like this, or perhaps even earlier, you can go all the way back to MS-DOS. And in fact, on other computers such as the Apple II, there's a Contiki web browser, and I think you can even get it for the Commodore 64. So there's actually quite a few ways in the 21st century that you can browse the web on really, really old, unsophisticated hardware. There is, however, one problem. Well, there's a few problems, but the first problem is this. So if I go into Internet Explorer here, and I think this is like IE5 or something like that, it's really old. Let's find out. Internet Explorer 5, right? So there's one big problem. I mean, obviously it renders pages horrendously anyway. I mean, when have you ever seen Google look like this? It's not right, and you can see broken things all over the place. But obviously Google works-ish, and there might be a reason why I've shown you this address bar. And the reason is because if I want to go to the BBC's news, you may notice that the link is an HTTPS link. So that's down near the bottom there of the address bar, right at the bottom near the start menu. You can see google.com/URL equals Q equals HTTPS. So I think it's almost impossible to get through a website these days that isn't HTTPS. A lot of the web has now transformed into secure TLS websites. And usually they're not TLS1 as well, which is an insecure standard. They're really now using TLS2 and above. So when you try and use a secure website on an antiquated browser, this is what happens. Now this is going to take a minute. Bear with. You can see the progress bar whistling down there. So it knows how to connect to the website. It's found the IP address of it. It's done the DNS lookup. And it's having a good old think about rendering the page. But something is going on. And I think you probably know what it is already. It's going to take a while, I guess. So long story short is it's not going to display the page. And that's because the method of decryption or the exchange of keys will not work. It simply isn't a supported HTTPS standard. You cannot render those pages at all. You can't even retrieve them properly because the web browser simply doesn't support that level of security. It's too insecure, which is a kind of good thing and a bad thing. And that is mirrored across all of these web browsers, right? You cannot retrieve HTTPS content in the modern day anyway. So how do you get around that? Because obviously it would be nice to be able to view pages as if on a computer which is ancient. There's not a complete answer to this. It's not a silver bullet that I'm going to show you, but there's something called Frogfind, which, if I bring up a new tab and actually just show you what it's all about. First of all, it's just a search engine, and in fact, it's a front end for DuckDuckGo. And a gentleman over at Action Retro, another YouTube channel, which wholeheartedly gets my recommendation. You should go for it, especially if you like things Macintosh or Apple. So Sean from Action Retro has made this search engine, and basically what he's done is he's pulled down the results from DuckDuckGo here, parsed them with Mozilla's readability extension, or the engine, and then basically stripped the results down from that to be something incredibly readable, which is effectively just plain text. So it strips out things like CSS, obviously, lots of dynamic content, all that sort of stuff, which you really can make good use of these days. Web pages don't look very good without all of these new fangled things. I say fangled things, they've been around for probably 20 plus years. And Sean says here that he designed Frogfind with classic Macs in mind to be sure it looks good in 1-bit color. Most of the testing has been on Netscape 1 as well as 2, and I have a few 68K Mac versions of iCab he's also tested with. Frogfind should also work great on any text-based web browser. So here I am, not quite a text-based browser. I'll show you that in just a second, but this is the main page of Frogfind. And so basically, when you press the ribbit button there, it's effectively just going to, well, it's pulling the search results from DuckDuckGo and then parsing them so it makes it look effectively okay-ish in a text mode browser, or Netscape Navigator 1.0, or in this case Internet Explorer 5, which is way out of date. So obviously when we went to BBC News there, eventually it timed out and gave us this very non-useful error, which says cannot find the server, or the DNS error. Neither of those are true. It could find the server and it could get DNS lookup. The problem was TLS. Okay, and it does mention something about them there. I have all of these security settings switched on, so it's still not good enough. See TLS 1.0 there. My expectation is that BBC News will probably run on TLS 2. Okay, so if I search now on Frogfind, frogfind.com, I've entered in the search there, BBC News. Of course, here's the BBC News page here. So if I click on that, it will then hopefully render the page and show me what the content of that is. Now, you can see there's not an awful lot of content there. So if I go back, you can get more information just by using the search page itself. But yeah, there's not an awful lot of rendering going on there. I think if I go to BBC homepage, you get some more, right? So you can see there's some links and so forth. I'm here in New Zealand, so this is an interesting piece of information. Australia to New Zealand travel bubble is launched, so we'll be able to travel to Australia and vice versa. So you can see that it's really stripped down the content of the page. It's all text, and in some cases links work, but then some other areas links do not work. So it really depends on how the link was made. So Australia, let's click on this link here. And so that one does work. Now, if you notice at the top, there's the alt text, image copyright, newsroom, via Getty Images. So that's probably the alt text for an image that's supposed to be there. However, what it does do is in most cases, it says view page images. So you can actually see the image, but you have to click on a link. And here's the stock image there from BBC News. So image caption, there you go. People in Auckland are being told to stay home. That's not true. That's an old thing. But anyway, that's an example there of Internet Explorer using Frogfind. Now, also, like it mentioned, there are text mode web browsers out there. For example, there's eLinks or Links. First of all, Links is the old school version. It's probably the original. Then there's eLinks, which is an enhanced version of Links. It looks a bit better. I don't really have a preference too much. And then there's W3M, same idea. And you can get all of these for Linux, Mac, and I'm pretty sure Windows as well. And then there's Links, Links, and they all render pages slightly differently. So none of them work exactly the same way. So it's very difficult to compare them all. But here's a very quick example. So if I go into, I think this is elinks, and I look for Al's Geek Lab webpage, you can see here that I get all this crap at the top, and then you can see the website from there on. So this is purely elinks. There's nothing nothing special going on here. So this is the webpage for the for this channel. And it kind of works, you know. Obviously, it won't display YouTube videos, but you know, by and by, apart from the rubbish at the top of the page, it's kind of good. But then, if I go over to Frogfind, it's a bit different because it's stripped so much away of that content. It just gives me the text. And unfortunately, if we do go over to the Al's Geek Lab website, I'll just bring that up momentarily. These buttons here, I'm assuming, are not proper HTML. They might be some sort of CSS or something like that. I couldn't tell you because I'm just using a theme. Sorry. But in either case, the website here has rendered, but it's only taken the text. There's no graphics for starters, and all of those buttons at the top are just not there. So it's not done a great job of that. Now you could, for example, say, right, I would like to view this particular this particular page here. So retro gaming is the category, and I could go up here into this part. I think, yeah, browse URL, and you can literally just type in. I don't know what I'm doing here. Oh, there we go. So if I paste that in there, it will use Frogfind to pull that page down. And you can see that looks pretty reasonable there. No problem. So that's kind of, I guess, what the difference is between rendering it in a text mode browser and the nuances behind Frogfind. But I think, you know, it's possible that Sean might enhance Frogfind over the while, and that's pretty cool. Put it this way, it is giving you the option to browse web pages that you couldn't ordinarily browse at all within an antiquated web browser. So it does kind of give a new lease of life into something which you basically could not work at all. And it's a little bit finicky, but by doing things like that, you can actually get most web pages to work, or at least the text part of the web pages. So that is frogfind.com. Check it out, and kudos to Sean over at the channel there. I forget the name of the channel, sorry. Action Retro. Yeah, so check that out. Whilst I'm on the shout outs for channels, I would also like to shout out Retro Tech Chris. His channel, if you've not been to it, is really cool. I just really enjoy his stuff. He does pretty similar stuff to me, but he's obviously got a little bit more programming skills or something like that. And so some of the stuff he does is a little bit edge on my stuff, and then some of my stuff kind of complements that as well. So I really like his channel, so please check out Retro Tech Chris. And then that leads me on to my last reason for being here today, and that was just to, pardon me, talk about all the content which I'm thinking about coming up with very soon. Thanks to many of you for your ideas. I've written some of them down, but some of these came from me. I should also like to say thanks to Jan Serfontaine. He's given me quite a few here. So in no particular order, I think I'll just read out some of the ideas that I have. And then if you can tell me in the comments below, look, Alistair, these are absolutely rubbish, don't do them, then they can go in the trash can. But here's one. Viruses in DOS. So what was it like in around circa 1985 or 86 or 87, something like that, when the first viruses came out for DOS? What was it like to get pwned by a virus back in those days? So I'd like to, build a few VMs, put a few viruses on them, and see what happens. So and then just talk about the experience. So that's one idea. Jim Leonard, thank you very much today on Twitter. He came along and said that I could do this idea, which is to give a top 3 games of the 1980s that was overlooked. So yeah, that's a really good idea. Obviously, I'd done the top 10 games of MS DOS for the first decade of the PC, so that was 1981 to 1991, and there's a heck of a lot of really good games in there that a lot of people don't know about, especially down at the earlier part of the 1980s, which I think really should be highlighted. So thanks to Jim Leonard, for giving me that idea. That's fantastic. I think I will take you up on the offer of that. And if you've got any other suggestions, of course, you can put them in the comments here or on my Twitter, which is Al's Geek Lab, at Al's Geek Lab. And of course, I'm on Instagram and Facebook and all that sort of stuff as well. The next idea was whatever happened to, and we talk about a number of companies. So I would say Atari, Commodore, the people involved in all of these things, and then Sun Microsystems. And some of you obviously will know all of those stories. Some of you won't know what those stories are. So again, I'd be keen to hear what you think about those. Then I was kind of going into some sort of more documentary style stuff. I do enjoy the documentary style stuff, as you've probably seen with Back to the BBS, if you've been watching the channel recently. It does take a massive amount of time to do that content, so that's the only problem. Especially this Back to the BBS one, because it's like 6 parts long and I'm 3 parts through, and it's a heck of a lot of work. Fortunately, most of the content I've actually got already. It's just a case of editing it all together and putting some stock feature in there. So anyway, I digress. The other ideas, again, thanks to Jan Serfontein for this one, the top 5 or 10 technologies that impacted your life without you knowing. So think about things like smartphones. I mean, we just take them for granted today. It won't be on smartphones, but that's the kind of idea that we're going for. Just things that happened that just meandered into daily life. It could be like nuclear power. I don't know, all sorts of different things like that. I'm really thinking about doing a little bit sciencey or something like that in that particular area. So it's a little bit out of the usual, out of the norm. Obviously, the BBS stuff continues. The next one would be, how did Wolfenstein 3D come about? There is actually a great history to Wolfenstein 3D and id Software in the beginning, and the games that led up to that particular game. And I did not know about some of these games, or I sort of knew, but didn't really appreciate how they all came together to actually make that seminal moment in 1992 when id Software released Wolfenstein 3D. So that was very cool. And then I think the other ones, the other ideas I had was the people behind the people. So who was behind Steve Wozniak, for example? What was the backstory to him? And then the people behind DOS. So for example, MS-DOS was not Microsoft's DOS. Microsoft acquired that technology through a company called Seattle Computer Products. So what was the backstory there to DOS, and how did Microsoft get it out and call it MS-DOS or PC-DOS, all of that sort of stuff. So those are some ideas. Something I also want to do really soon, and might even do in this sort of kind of live format, I don't know, I'll yet to be discussed, but I want to show you all the channels that I subscribe to myself, which are all related to retro computing mainly. There's a few other ones on the periphery there, but I thought, it'd be great for me to share all of the channels which I think are really good, because if you're watching this channel, the likelihood is that you'll like those channels too. And I think, this retro computing thing especially is growing all the time. It's, even when I first started out this channel, which is only like a year ago now, right? It was a pretty small niche thing, and then I think on the back of people like the 8-Bit Guy, LGR, all of those sorts of channels, a lot of other people have come to the foray, and now we have fantastic ranges of channels with all sorts of really interesting things. Hello, Thesey. DC. Am I saying it right? And Fred, thank you for your comments there. BBS stuff for the win. Thank you. I appreciate that. Anything you can do regarding the history and amazing software contributions and the philosophy from Gary Kildall and his wife would be great. So yeah, I was talking a bit about quick and dirty operating system QDOS prior to MS DOS. There is a lot of other commentary and videos on Gary Kildall online, and I feel like I might do it a disservice because some of the videos that are on Gary are fantastic. Gary Kildall, for those of you who are watching, if you are, he's such an instrumental figure in computing, microcomputing, I guess, history, which is so overlooked by the masses. It's not funny. Unfortunately, he's passed away, but Gary's contribution to computing is still a contribution which is endured to this day. Pretty much, there are parts that we can map straight back to Gary Kildall's contributions in computing, particularly CPM, which is the operating system that he built at his company, Digital Research. And yeah, fantastic insight, because that operating system was the first one to actually look like DOS. It was before DOS. And he made enhancements on that went right the way through to making it a multitasking operating system. And in many, many ways, it competed with MS-DOS and outshone MS-DOS. They did a thing called concurrent DOS as well, which kind of allowed multitasking. I think there was two different multitasking ones, but anyway, really ahead of its time if you think about it at the time, because MS-DOS was a single tasking operating system, and the concurrent DOS stuff was completely out of that ballpark. It was completely different, and then eventually they had DR-DOS, which was a direct competitor to MS-DOS. Anyway, I digress. Hey, Meat Lotion, thank you very much for tuning in. I think I'm almost wrapped up here. Thank you very much for your donation. You are this guy's so kind. Honestly, just yeah, thank you so much, Christian. That's very kind of you for your donation. And I always love the amount that Christian donates, Meat Lotion, because it is always £13.37. And if you know the significance of 1337, then you're in the team. If you don't, then I'm not going to tell you. But yeah, so they say, what's Computer Chronicles? Did I mention Computer Chronicles, or was that a question? I don't know. But Computer Chronicles was a program that Gary Kildall co-presented for a long time during the 80s with a guy called Stuart Chaffee, and he was pretty unbiased, especially during the early days. You know, he would say, "Oh, look, this is a Microsoft operating system" and stuff like that. It was really interesting to see the progression of that over the years. But yeah, so there are some other documentaries on Gary Kildall specifically, which I'm thinking about on YouTube, which I will try and link to if I can search for them and find them for you. So I'll link to them in the comments below. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say. I hope that you found this live stream interesting. I just thought I'd give it a shot. And if you do have any feedback on this, then please let me know in the comments. As I say, don't give me a thumbs down, please. If you think it's rubbish, just tell me, and then I'll not do this again. And yeah, you don't have to worry about this. But yeah, I've had a few viewers already, which is cool. And Fred, what are you doing? More donations. Thank you so much. This is really, really kind of you guys. It's always kind of overwhelming, I guess, a bit, because these donations coming in, and I do this I do it for pure enjoyment, and I feel like I've got something that is of value to people on the channel, and that's why I still do it. Otherwise, I would have crawled back in under the stone that I came from. But it's still very humbling every single time I get a donation or just people, giving me encouraging words. So I'm really, really, really chuffed with that one. Chuffed is the right word. Yeah, and I actually tried to do a live stream the other day and failed miserably, which is good because that way I got to know whether it was working or not, and the answer was it was definitely not working right. I had my mic volume completely wrong. I had a whole bunch of things, and then the video was private. It never actually came out live like this. So beginner's experience there, definitely. A few other things I was thinking about as well was a while ago, in fact, some of my most popular videos, if you look back way on the channel, was things that have got nothing to do with retro computing at all, which is kind of sad to me because retro computing and all that sort of stuff is my passion. But here's my sort of smartwatch. It's a Garmin, and I reviewed this like I don't know about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that. And it today is one of my most popular videos, which is really annoying. And I've got a few other things like sports headphones because I do running, so I have a few of those up there as well, and they're pretty popular. But I think my most popular video is of me on an Apple IIe. There is one behind me. I don't think you can see that, but it's me using links actually, just like this, online, and for some reason, maybe it's because the word Apple's in there. I don't know why particularly, but maybe it's because it says Apple. Who knows? But anyway, that one seems to, by and large, been the most popular video ever. I would really like to put a bit more of the non, I guess, more of the retro stuff. That's my focus, really. And I also got this microphone, which you're listening to right now. So if you find that quite good, then that's because of this. I do personally find it a big improvement over my Shure SM58, which is annoying because that's a proper microphone broadcast standard that I've used for years. It's an XLR based one, this is a USB one. Although it's still, I reckon this Blue Yeti thing sounds a lot better. So yeah, go figure. I think that's probably everything. If you do have any questions or comments, please do let me know. But again, thank you very much all for watching. DSA, oh my goodness, thank you very much. Really appreciate that. And for those of you who are watching and are fans of the Back to the BBS documentary, worry not. It is. I'm just showing you behind the scenes here, but this is the next part right here, and as you can see, it's pretty much done. There is bits and bobs here that need tidying up, but it's basically all about the BBS software that's around today, and I had an amazing amount of feedback from a lot of very, very talented people who have made BBS software out there. And I'm just like, wow, how amazing is this? All this BBS software is being made in 2021, is actively being worked on, and it's really, really good stuff. And these individuals have been so kind as to come and chat to me and tell me all about their software. So that should be the next part, the next release of Back to the BBS. I'm not going to put a particular time on it. I'm not going to say it's going to be ready next weekend. It might be, but I'd rather just release it when it's good and ready. I like to do a lot of QA. I hate the videos by the time I release them because I probably watch them like 10 times. And as Meat Lotion has already, Meat Lotion is fantastic. What a guy, because he does a bit of QA for me as well. I often send him the sort of second draft, and he's always really good at picking up some things that I've totally missed somehow, which is, there's always little things that you miss, and so I really do appreciate Meat Lotion's contributions there. And if you are a BBSer, then make sure you head over to his BBS. It's called the Quantum Wormhole, bbs.erb.pw, I want to say. I hope that's right. In fact, let's just check for it. b.pw. Maybe that won't work. No. Well, anyway, you can find there. He's got a BBS button there. So yeah, I'm pretty much around. There you go. His website here, and that will take you straight to his BBS. So really cool. And he also does a radio station. I'm just noticing this thing come up here, which is really cool. It just basically plays sort of retro and chiptune music all day long, and you can request songs on it and so forth as well, which I think is awesome. So I was playing with that the other day and listening to some Purple Motion from the Future Crew. I thought that was fantastic. So yeah, if that's your sort of thing, then you should definitely head over there. Look, that's it for me. I will wrap up now. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it when all of you guys come along, and I can't thank you again enough for your donations. That totally wasn't expecting any of that. So yeah, thank you for checking it out, and I will see you later. Have a good evening if you're on this side of the world, and if you're on your side of the world, have a good day. I'll catch you later. See ya. Bye bye.